It began with a trembling voice in the courtroom. A nurse, her hands clasped tightly in front of her, told a tribunal she had been left sobbing and shaking in a panic attack. Her name, Karen Darcy, a veteran nurse. I am 46 years old. 14 years of service at Northvale General Hospital, a place she once called her second home. But in September last year, that home became a place she feared. Karen said she was forced to share a changing room with a transgender colleague, a colleague who, that morning, stood just a few feet behind her in boxer shorts. She told the tribunal, her voice breaking, "He asked me 3 times whether I was going to get changed." She wasn't just uncomfortable. She was terrified, because for Karen Darcy, that moment dragged her back into memories she had buried for decades. Memories of being a child and being hurt. That morning, in the L-shaped changing room of Northvale Surgical Ward, Karen said her hands froze over her locker. She couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She texted her husband just to pretend she was doing something normal. "Finished work. Just getting changed. See you soon." She typed that with trembling fingers, trying to stay calm. Behind her, she heard the voice again. "Are you not getting changed yet?" A third time, and in that small room, with only the faint hum of fluorescent lights above, she said she felt cornered. When the tribunal began, people thought it would be a small, local employment dispute, just another HR matter. But it wasn't, because what started as one nurse's panic attack grew into a case that would divide a hospital and then a nation. Karen wasn't alone. 6 other nurses had come forward, all women, all with the same complaint. They said the hospital had ignored their rights, that it had violated the safety and dignity of female staff by allowing someone born male, but identifying as female, to share their private spaces, and they were ready to take the Northvale Health Trust to court. Her colleague, referred to in court as RH, had joined the hospital back in 2019 as an operating department practitioner. They were assigned to the surgical team. Professional, qualified, and by all accounts, quiet. But when RH identified as a woman, the trust gave them access to the female changing room, a decision that would trigger one of the most controversial employment cases in modern healthcare. Karen Darcy said she wasn't told about the change. No one asked her permission. No one asked anyone's permission. One day she simply walked in, and there RH was. In her testimony, Karen described the moment in chilling detail. He was wearing nursing scrubs on the top and tight black boxer shorts. There were holes in them. He looked masculine. There was nothing feminine about his appearance. He had facial hair. She paused. I didn't know him. I didn't even know he identified as a woman. All I knew was there was a man standing in our changing room. That was the moment everything started to unravel. Karen's panic attack spiraled. She described sweating through her uniform, her hands trembling so badly she couldn't unlock her locker. Tears blurred her vision. And through it all, she said, RH just stood there, watching, smirking. After the incident, Karen drove home and sat in her car for almost an hour before going inside. Her husband said she looked white as a sheet. She told him everything, the voice, the questions, the fear, and by the end, she was sobbing again. That night, she couldn't sleep. She said she kept seeing that moment again and again. The locker, the voice, the question, are you not getting changed yet? The next morning, she filed an internal complaint. She expected someone from HR to take it seriously. They didn't. Instead, she was told to be respectful of others' identities. Her discomfort was described as a misunderstanding. And when she asked for a separate changing area, she was told there wasn't the space or the budget. Karen Darcy felt silenced, but not for long, because within a week, 2 other nurses reached out. They said the same thing had happened to them. One of them, Lisa Price, a ward nurse, said she'd also found herself alone in that same room with RH. She said RH made her feel on edge, that they would linger too long, watching silently as she gathered her things. Soon, there were 7 nurses in total, each with similar stories, each saying the same thing, that they were made to feel unsafe, and when they complained, they were ignored. When their case reached the employment tribunal in Newcastle, it was already drawing national attention. Women's rights groups stood outside the courthouse holding signs. Some held banners that read, "Protect female spaces." Others chanted, "Safety isn't hate." The Northvale Health Trust, on the other hand, stood firm. They insisted they were following equality law. Their barrister, Simon Heath, told the court that IH had every right to identify as female and that denying them access to the women's changing room would itself be discrimination. The case had become more than an employment issue. It was now a battle over what woman means under British law. But while the legal arguments made headlines, behind the scenes, something darker was happening. Karen Darcy began receiving anonymous messages. At first, they were subtle, notes left in her locker. "Be careful who you talk to." Then her car was keyed in the hospital parking lot. Her husband started getting silent calls late at night. When she reported it, she was told it was probably coincidence, maybe even stress. But Karen knew what she felt. Someone wanted her quiet. One night in December, 3 months after the incident, Karen returned home to find her mailbox open and a single sheet of paper inside. Typed, no name, no signature, just 7 words. "Stop before you end up like the rest." She froze. The rest? Who was the rest? A week later, one of the other nurses, Annette Grayson, age 52, didn't show up for work. Her phone was off. Her house was locked. She was later found in her car, parked off a rural road just outside Northvale. The police ruled it an overdose. Karen didn't believe it. Annette had been one of the most outspoken in the group, the one who'd said, "If we don't stand up for ourselves, no one will." She'd been upbeat the week before, even joking that the tribunal would shock the trust into change. And then suddenly, gone. The news shook the others. 3 nurses quietly withdrew their names from the case, citing personal reasons. The media never connected the dots, but Karen did. She was terrified, but she refused to step back. "If I stop now," she told the reporter covering the case, "then they win, and someone will do it again." By the time the tribunal resumed in spring, the story had exploded. National tabloids ran headlines like "Nurse claims trans colleague triggered trauma." Social media split into 2 camps, those who called her brave and those who called her hateful. Karen received hate mail and death threats, but she also received letters from women across the country, many who said they'd had similar experiences but were too afraid to speak up. Inside the tribunal, the atmosphere was tense. The trust lawyers tried to pick apart her credibility. They questioned her memory. They implied she'd exaggerated her trauma. One even asked why she hadn't simply walked out. Karen replied softly, "Because I was frozen. Because that's what fear does." The courtroom went silent. But then, a revelation. During the cross-examination, her lawyer produced a printout from the hospital's internal chat system. A message sent 2 days after the incident, between 2 senior HR staff. One line stood out. "If this gets out, we'll have a PR disaster. Keep it quiet until we know if there's CCTV." There was CCTV. Or there was supposed to be. When Karen's team requested the footage from that morning, they were told the cameras weren't operational. But the chat log suggested otherwise. Someone had deleted it. The tribunal ordered the trust to hand over all maintenance records. But a week later, the IT manager resigned suddenly. When questioned, he said he was leaving for personal health reasons. 2 days after that, his car was found in a lobby on the A67. Empty. He hasn't been seen since. By now, the case had become something far more sinister than a workplace dispute. The media began digging. A whistleblower from inside the trust leaked a partial internal memo to a journalist. It read, "Staff must avoid further contact with investigators or external media. Ongoing inquiry into digital security breach." Karen knew what that meant. They were trying to shut it down. Her husband begged her to quit the case. He said, "They are powerful, Karen. They'll crush you." But she refused. "If I let them bury this, then Annette died for nothing." In the following weeks, she noticed things getting stranger. Her hospital ID stopped working some mornings. Her shifts would change without notice. Rumors spread that she was unstable and obsessed. And then, she received another letter, this time handwritten. "You're not fighting for justice anymore. You're fighting people you don't understand. She took it to the police. They said without proof of threat, they couldn't act. But Karen was starting to realize this wasn't just about her. It was about a system that wanted the problem to disappear. The tribunal's final sessions grew heated. The trust maintained it had done nothing wrong. Their lawyers said it was a matter of equality, not safety, that the nurse's discomfort didn't override IHS legal rights. But Karen's lawyer revealed something shocking in closing arguments. A former HR assistant, who quietly resigned months earlier, had come forward. She provided an internal email chain showing that complaints from female staff had been flagged, redirected, and deleted before reaching the executive board. One message from the HR director read, "No further escalation. This need to stay internal until the climate calms down." The courtroom murmured. The trust barrister went pale. And then came the final blow. A sealed USB drive was delivered anonymously to the tribunal clerk midway through the hearings. No return address, no note. When the judge allowed it to be examined, it contained a single video file, timestamped the morning of the incident. It showed the corridor outside the changing room. You could see Karen Darcy walk in. Seconds later, RH followed. 2 minutes passed. Then Karen stumbled out, visibly distressed, clutching her bag. The camera cut off, but not before something else appeared in the frame. A third person, standing in the hallway, watching them both. The image was blurry. The trust denied knowing who it was. But Karen recognized the shape of the uniform, hospital security, the same officer who had told her there were no working cameras that day. The tribunal adjourned for the day. Karen drove home in silence. She didn't speak during the car ride. She just stared ahead, her mind replaying the footage again and again. If that officer had been there, why had no one said so? Why had the footage been deleted? And what happened to the IT manager who'd vanished after resigning? The pieces weren't fitting together. It wasn't random. It was deliberate. 2 nights later, a journalist from the Chronicle contacted Karen. He said he'd received the same video and another file, an audio recording. He wouldn't say how he got it, but he warned her before sending it. "Karen, what's in here? It changes everything." She opened the file. The sound was muffled, like a microphone hidden under fabric. Voices. "Man," one said, "we can't afford this to go public." Another replied, "Then make sure she doesn't show up to the next hearing." Then silence. Karen froze. She didn't sleep that night. She forwarded the file to her lawyer. By morning, it was gone from her email. Deleted. No trace. When her lawyer checked his inbox, the file he'd received was blank. Empty metadata. Wiped clean. The next tribunal session never happened. It was postponed for administrative reasons. But those inside knew the truth. The trust legal team had called for a private inquiry. Karen went into hiding. She told one of the reporters, "I can't keep doing this alone, but if I stop, they'll bury the truth." Weeks later, the whistleblower reached out again. One message: "You were right. The footage wasn't lost. It was locked." Attached was a photo of a hard drive labeled Northvale_sec_logs_August 2023. It had a barcode from the Trust Archive Department. The same department is run by the HR director who had resigned just days before. And that's where part 1 ends. With Karen Darcy in hiding, with one nurse dead, one IT manager is missing, and a single piece of evidence, locked somewhere deep inside Northvale General Hospital, holding the key to what really happened in that changing room.